all I do is the big parts of my job, and I have amazing staff that do everything else. So I couldn't do. I mean, we're doing 16 high-rise buildings across Canada right now, with like a ton. Our staff, we're probably doing as much work as Tridel with 1/20th the staff, and it's because they leave me alone. I'm able to do the stuff that I need to do at a high level, and all the other stuff's picked up for me. Even my lunch, like, it's just amazing. I don't have to do anything. Reservations for restaurants, you know, a guy that I buy clothes from comes to my office. It's organized by Ryan. He comes in like once every quarter, and he makes stuff for me because I can't buy it off the rack. Like, everything in my life's managed, and I could not do it. Even my gas, I've probably filled my whatever car I'm driving. I've probably filled my tank maybe 5 times a year.
That's awesome. That's a job. That's a job even Bilal could do. By the way, we get in case you can fill up right there, Bilal.
On the Todd Shapiro Show, Sirius XM 168.
Do you get mad at people that don't call you Brad J. Lamb? Does that ever happen? You're like, I'm Brad J. Lamb.
You know why I did that? My actual name is John Bradley Lamb.
Huh.
It just sounded better when I was a kid and I was starting my real estate thing. It sounded like I was older and more experienced.
No question.
Yeah.
No question. Yeah, it's fine. A lot of actors will do that, right? They'll just have a name that kind of that grabs the attention.
It seems kind of silly now, really.
Oh, no, I don't know. You wouldn't have been as successful. It was all that. You were a visionary even back then.
If I was John Bradley Lamb?
Yeah, I wouldn't have bought with you. No. How did you, when you started, how did you come to that? Like, you wanted to sound older and stuff, but did you go through did you put up a whiteboard and throw a bunch of different names, or was that kind of the first one you thought of? Actually,
when I first started my real estate brokerage, I was going to go by the name of Toronto Condominium Realty Corp. or something like that. And I went to the desk at where you register names of the government, and some lady said, "Oh, you can't have that name because it's not specific. It's too specific. What if you sell houses?" I said, "Well, I'm not going to sell houses. I'm going to sell condos." Back then, that's all I did. And she said, "Well, I'm not going to give it to you." So I had to, at that moment, go, "Okay, well, what the fuck am I going to call my company?" So
it popped in your head.
I
mean, she had she could have, like, for no other reason other than the fact that she just didn't think it was good for you.
She thought it was misleading to the public, I think. But
interesting.
But today, there's a company, an ex-guy that used to work for me, has a company called Toronto Lofts Realty.
Sure.
Which is way more specific than Toronto Condos Realty.
Because there are not many lofts.
And he was able to get that. So I think today it's different, but back then I had this battle axe that wouldn't let me have that name.
Do people still call you John?
No, people call me Bradley mostly.
You're Bradley.
My family would call me Bradley.
Okay, so you're still a Bradley.
In a condescending way, you know.
Bradley.
Bradley. What did you do now? You know, kind of thing.
Yeah. It's they always do that, right? They say the name, the full name, and longer. They extend it.
That's right.
How's biz? How are things going?
Amazing.
Yeah.
Just bought a great new site.
Wow.
I'm on a buying frenzy right now. I bought 4 new development sites in the last 2 months. I'm going to buy 2 more.
You're all within Toronto, or
all central Toronto. Bought one in Leslieville.
Okay.
I actually bought one in Scarborough for the future.
Cool.
Scarborough is going to be big.
Why is that?
I just think that the core is going to get really expensive, and I think it's going to price out a lot of people. And, you know, Scarborough is really, if you drive at the right time, it's 20 minutes from the city. And I think places 20 or 30 minutes from the city are gonna develop. So I don't want to do it now because I don't see Scarborough being what I want it to be at this point. Not Scarborough's fine, but for me, what I like and how I build, I don't think it's ready for my stuff.
Okay.
But I could see in 10 or 15 years maybe. So it's a long-term buy. Just put it away. It's a plaza. It'll be a high rise. Be a 30-story high rise in 10 years.
Wow. So in the meantime, you just have someone knocking on the doors, collecting the lease and stuff, and.
Well, I have a property management company. I've over the years collected a fair amount of real estate. So
okay.
I have a division that does that.
If I want a remote studio, you know, you'll give me a good lease, maybe. Okay.
I've had 2 recording studios.
Really?
In the past, yeah.
Do you own one now?
No. I own a building that used to have a recording studio in it, and I didn't renew their lease.
So you ripped it out.
I did.
What'd you do with the old equipment?
No, they took the equipment.
Oh, okay.
But they had built this. It was like a building in a building. It's amazing. They built this entire structure within the basement of a building at 20-foot ceilings, But there was a lot left when I got into it, and it took me about 3 weeks to demo what they had left.
Wow. So they put it. So will people do that when they go and get places that they'll lease and not own? They'll put a big amount of investment in there. Is that like a wise thing to do?
Huge. I mean, that's what restaurants do. Restaurants can spend. I don't think you can spend less than $1 million in a decent restaurant these days, and people spend. I heard a big club owner, I won't say his name, is spending $17 million on a new bar restaurant in the city. $17 million,
And he won't even own the location that he's putting $17 million in.
Just a long-term lease.
That is so crazy, Jay.
There was a famous story not too long ago that happened in Toronto regarding Kaplansky's Deli, where the lease owner just closed down.
He locked him out, but then they got it back for some reason.
No,
He
the
went-
owner
Yeah.
of the building. The owner of the building had a dispute with Kaplansky,
Oh, okay.
and I think Kaplansky won.
Yeah, Kaplansky won. So that can just happen at any given point, even if you put money into it.
Well, that what happened is that when you have a lease, usually for X amount of years, when the lease runs out, you have an arbitration clause usually that says if the landlord wants to charge more rent than you're willing to pay, and a third-party arbitrator will rule on that. That's often the case. If that's not the case, then you can go to court and fight it out. So I don't know if it was an arbitrator or a court hearing that figured out that case, but that happens all the time. Landlords want more money than tenants want to pay.
Do you sell commercial properties at all to people?
Yeah, we do about I'd say almost 100 million of commercial sales a year. We do a lot now. I have 4 guys in my commercial division. They're all vice presidents.
That's nice for you to give them that title.
Oh, they love that title.
Yeah, it's a great title. Can I have vice president or something? Yeah.
I pay them less.
Okay.
They,
They get the title.
they get to go to a bar and say I'm a vice president of this company. Yeah.
It works out well for them.
Apparently they like that.
And they have a bunch of keys.
And they have a bunch of keys to
Yeah.
a bunch of buildings. Yeah, that doesn't hurt.
That's amazing. You'll give them the title over the salary any day.
By the way, they're all married and they don't do that.
Okay, no, I wasn't thinking anything. Okay.
Just to clarify.
Is that a good investment for people to buy small commercial properties as well?
It's amazing. I got to tell you that, like, I don't want to talk about my specific stuff because it doesn't sound great on radio. But I know. Let's talk about my clients. I mean, it's typical for someone who bought a commercial building on King Street 10 years ago that maybe paid $1 million for a 3,000 square foot building, like a little warehouse. Today, it would be worth $4 or $5 million. Like, I tell you what, I'm looking to buy a site right now downtown. I'll tell you this story about me. And the people bought it for $2 million. They bought it in the middle 90s. It's 5 houses. They bought it in the middle 90s for $280,000 for 2 houses, and they paid $1.8 million for 3 houses in 2005. They're into it for about $2 million. I'm offering them $20 million.
Whoa.
$20 million.
I mean, why wouldn't they just sell right away?
It's a 50-story tower site.
Okay.
Right? It's worth $20 million to me. But can you imagine that? That's insane, right?
Oh, that kind of profit margin.
And that happens all over the city all the time.
Oh, I wish we hung out more when you were living above me years ago.
All it takes is belief in, it's not difficult. They're not smart people. They just had balls.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, they just had balls. By the way, congrats, your Pens won. They won the cup.
I know.
So
In 6 games.
that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Phil Kessel did real well.
Yeah, Phil Kessel.
He was hoisting that cup, no problem though. Regarding mortgages, dude, should people still go to banks or should we trust our brokers?
Well, first of all, I have a mortgage company called King West Financial, so I'll just give that disclosure. But here's the thing: what I find is that, and this is a bit of a hit on the banks, but people who sit in a bank and process mortgages aren't as motivated to get you the great deal that a mortgage broker is motivated to do. So mortgage brokers will shop to a multitude of lenders, banks, credit unions, pension funds, and life cos. And generally speaking, they'll get you a better number. So like my company can pretty well beat any bank by a quarter to a half point, typically. And also tough mortgages that banks don't want to do, we can do. And we're not doing, as private money, meaning expensive, but we can find a tier 2 lender that might be 0.5% higher, but it's a difference between you getting a mortgage and not getting a mortgage. And banks can't do that.
Can you give? Can you do mortgages across Canada, or do you focus really in Toronto?
No, we can only do mortgages in Ontario
Okay,
right now.
Ontario. Okay,
Yep.
the goal to expand that one day.
Yeah, I've started a new company called SaveYouMoneyMortgage.com.
Okay, so
SaveYouMoneyMortgage.com.
that's amazing. I want to sign up.
It's,
Okay.
and we're going to get a jingle. Maybe.
Oh, Roddy's our guy. He does the pizza jingles.
Do you
Yeah, literally, he writes. I'm not even okay.
want some kind of catchy jingle?
Oh, he's honestly your guy. He's the best in the country at it.
And what we're going to do is we're going to roll this out across Canada eventually. It's in the planning stages, and where we can do mortgages everywhere, and we'll guarantee to save you money on your mortgage, be the lowest rate. And how we have to do that is, actually, I shouldn't be talking about this in the radio right now.
Oh yeah, because you don't want anyone to steal your ID.
Steal my ID.
Okay, so we won't say anything more.
That's it.
See, I'm good at getting things out of people that because I'm a natural, it's just natural conversation.
Yeah.
I remember it was the first thing I said to you when we were going to do this. I'm like, we're just going to end up. There's not a lot of preparation that goes into this stuff. As I drop the questions I should ask Brad today, but really, it's just about kind of like hanging out with buddies and getting great information across. Canadians, we hear you talk about mortgages. People maybe over mortgaging themselves and putting tons of money on their credit cards and stuff. Is there a debt problem?
See, I brought some stats just for this.
Okay.
Let me put my glasses on. Okay, so this is the thing. You're hearing in the newspaper, cross-country, media, the government, and Bank of Canada are always saying how Canadians have a debt problem, right? 164% of their income is debt, or 1.64 times your annual income's debt. Here's the thing. In Atlantic Canada, Quebec, Manitoba, and Saskatchewan, which I would say are I would maybe have-not provinces where people aren't, real estate prices certainly as high as they are in the rest of the country. You've got numbers below 80, below 70 really in those. So meaning 0.7 of your income per year is debt. And that's very low. That's numbers that would become, you'd see that 30 years ago, right? Where houses were very cheap. The places where it's higher is Ontario, Alberta, and British Columbia. Why is that? Because real estate prices are high in those provinces, specifically Calgary, Vancouver, and Toronto, the drivers of real estate prices. Now, here's the thing. If you don't have a mortgage in Canada, you have 0.64 times your annual income, which is not a problem, meaning you're renting. If you own a home and you have a mortgage, you're at 161%, okay? So that means that people who own homes have more debt than people who rent. Now, so I want to give you an example. If you bought a condo, it made $100,000 a year, $100,000 a year, you bought a condo in Toronto for $300,000. That's a 500 square foot, one bedroom. You put $100,000 down. Is that a lot of money? Down payment?
I mean,
100,000?
you would think that people could try and get that at a certain, I'd say at about 35-ish.
Yeah, it's a lot of money. I think it's a big down payment. I mean, it's not 5%. It's actually 33%.
Yeah.
Right? Banks would love you for that.
Okay.
They'd open their vault and say, take my money. Now, that means you're borrowing $200,000. So that's a 200% or two times. It's above the 1.64 that the government's screaming is terrible. Now, that guy's mortgage would cost him, mortgage and taxes would cost him $1,100 a month, all in. What's the rent for that property? $1,600 a month. So the guy who's renting is going to be worse off. He's paying $1,600 a month. The guy that put $100,000 is paying $1,100 a month, right? Who's better off?
Well, especially if the property value increases,
You
which
can
it should.
forget about that.
Yeah.
Who's better off? The guy who's paying $1,100.
Yeah, you're saving $500 a month. So the owner.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying to people is that number that is being flashed around as a problem is bullshit. You have to look beyond the number. What we have to do as Canadians is we can't carry credit card debt. We can't willy-nilly go to university and take stupid courses that are never going to get us a job. Sorry, that's not smart. And, car loans and lines of credit aren't super wise. If you don't need a car, don't drive a car. And borrowing money for a TV or for something that's not necessarily needed is not a great idea either, right? So those are the loans that are high interest loans, and those are the ones that get you in trouble. A 2.5% mortgage where it's cheaper than rent is just being smart. And so that's what people have to read between the lines of what people are saying here. It's not a problem. It's not a problem.
It's good to know. I mean, it's great information. It makes perfect sense. Just do the simple math. And really, that's what it comes down to.
That's right out of a government publication, by the way.
Okay, good to know. Brad Lamb joins us. Brad J. Lamb Realty. Go to TorontoCondos.com with developments in Ottawa and Calgary. And you just bought 18 properties in the last week. So you'll be living in one of his soon, for
That's
sure.
not true.
Hey, more of a personal question. What's one thing a guy like you couldn't live without?
Ryan Spencer.
Who's that? Your
Ryan Spencer.
Yeah, Ryan's. Is he your assistant?
He's like my business manager.
Okay.
And the guy is unbelievable. Yeah, he's amazing.
How so? Just organizing your days and
if my TV doesn't work,
He's
Ryan,
that good.
send someone to fix my TV. Done.
That's great.
Like the guy manages my life, so I have to do like any repairs to a car I have, any travel stuff. He books everything, or he gets someone to do it for me, right? So I'm just a lazy slug that does nothing all day, and this guy works his ass off for me.
Well, let me ask you about this. This is a great question. I used to get mad at my own father for this sometimes. I would see him doing everything in the house, from fixing the smallest little things to changing light bulbs to, you know, we grew up in a very nice homely environment. Homey environment. Homely is when you're ugly, I think. Just where we did things together, clean dishes and all that kind of stuff. And sometimes I would think to him, like, why wouldn't you focus on efforts of because he had like a decent earning potential, on working harder at those types of things to bring in more money, and then to maybe pay someone to help out with the other stuff. Do you think there is an advantage to that if you can afford, obviously, having someone like a Ryan Spencer?
Oh yeah. I mean, like, you know, all I do is the big parts of my job, and I have amazing staff that do everything else. So I couldn't do. I mean, I'm doing 16 high-rise buildings across Canada right now, with like a ton. Our staff, we're probably doing as much work as Tridel with 1/20th the staff, and it's because they leave me alone. I'm able to do the stuff that I need to do at a high level, and all the other stuff's picked up for me. Even my lunch, like, it's just amazing. I don't have to do anything. Reservations for restaurants. You know, a guy that I buy clothes from comes to my office. It's organized by Ryan. He comes in like once every quarter, and he makes stuff for me because I can't buy it off the rack. Like, everything in my life's managed, and I could not do it. Even my gas, I've probably filled whatever car I'm driving. I've probably filled my tank maybe 5 times a year.
That's awesome. That's a job. That's a job even Bilal could do. By the way, in case you can fill up right there, Bilal. Would you? At what point would you say that? You know, I'm just trying to think in terms of earning potential. So, say there's a guy out there listening right now, going, "Man, I aspire to be like a Brad J. Lamb, and I aspire to have a staff, a team of people who not only are great to delegate to and get the job done that I've hired them to do, but I also would love basically like a concierge, a personal assistant, someone who could help get my day on, and then I know that I could then take that earning potential and perhaps earn twice more because I'll focus twice that amount of time in doing what I do best."
Yeah.
Do you think that's fair to say to someone, like, if, you know, maybe you're only earning, I say only, it's still a lot of money, but, you know, 150 grand, maybe take 30 grand of that, and if it allows you to focus on your job, like, is that advice you might give to someone?
Yeah, I mean, it obviously depends if you can leverage your time to make more money. But if you can, like, I hate anything to do, like, I never make my bed, ever, right? I have a cleaning lady who comes and she does everything for me. I never clean my house. I never do anything. And allows me to focus on making my business better, right? And so the stuff that you hate to do, if you can get the stuff you hate to do that depresses you or makes you angry or hostile or unpleasant to be around, if you can get that out of your life in a affordable fashion and add to your business by doing it, I would highly recommend it. I think anyone who's really successful, and I'm not saying I am, but I think anyone who's really successful does that, and I aspire to be more successful.
Well, it's great. You don't stop. What made you move to developing out west, and will the downturn prevent you from doing more development out there? We hear of, obviously, with the oil prices and stuff going down now, and are you still gonna do stuff out that way?
Well, the reason why I wanted to diversify and not be, because so in 2011 the Toronto market was bad, right? There was too many projects, there was a lot of negative talk, and it was hard to sell. And it was because we kind of oversold the market a little bit in 2011. That's all completed now. But at the time, I thought, you know what? I want to have money in other places. So we expanded to Calgary and then Edmonton, and the market was amazing. And of course, and it was amazing up until November 2014. I think it was 14, when oil prices dropped from $100 a barrel, to 50 quickly. And then there was major layoffs in both Calgary and Edmonton. So that affected the real estate market, of course. But the thing is, so I went there because it was a booming economy, right? And it's going to be again. So the question is, if you're going to be an investor, are you a short-term investor or are you a long-term investor? And I am a long-term investor. So we're into Alberta for 30 years.
Okay.
Not 5 years.
So you're not going anywhere?
No.
It's good. Okay, well, I think that's It's got to be really encouraging news for people who are listening out, right now out west to know that if you have a lot to lose if you're investing that long and have that type of long-term vision. So that must be a very positive sign for folks.
Yeah, I don't think you can ever lose in real estate if you look to the long term.
Long term.
Yeah.
Good to know. What advice would you give to those people looking to get into becoming an agent? And is it that easy, fast money that we always think it is?
Don't do it.
Don't do really?
There's too many real estate agents.
Okay, my wife's doing a realtor course right now. Did I tell you?
Yeah. Of course she is. She's going to call me for a job.
Yeah, basically.
You know what? There's never a problem if you're good at it, right? Most people aren't, and a lot of people delude themselves. If you have a natural affinity to sell, it's just not going to happen overnight. People either are salespeople, or you're a natural sales guy. You have the gift of that.
It's funny. I never thought I was until the last couple of years. Actually, I've been more proud of myself.
And naturally,
I like people.
Friendly, and so I think that you're also likable, and that's something. So if you don't do well here,
okay, I'll take her realtor license, and we'll just change the name somehow.
I have a job for you.
Thanks.
But I think that if you're good,
I might need that,
and you have sales talent, then there's always room. But too many people are getting into it that are useless.
Good to know. Jay, there go your plans too if we don't have the show.
I'll go back to building. Unfortunately, I apologize to anyone I've built. I've supervised the building of their home.
Terrible condos you built?
I've built some bad ones, Brad. I've built some real bad ones.
I saw a story online yesterday, and I think I might have shared it on my Facebook. Some guy sold an app that he developed to Snapchat, and he got $54 million for it, and he decided just to go travel with his family, and now he's on like this long-term. He's decided not to go and work ever again, and at a young age, and I think his kids are like 2 and 4 years old. He's not working again. I look at a guy like you, who I will say you're very successful, and obviously I don't know your net worth or anything, but it's got to be more than mine. Do you see yourself ever retiring early?
Well, first of all, I mean, 54 million is going to sound like a lot of money.
Yeah.
But today, if you invested that and you got like a 5 or 6% return, it's like $3 million a year, and after tax, it's $1.5 million. Now that's a lot of money, but I don't think it's a lot of. You're not going to live. People think I'm crazy, but you're not going to live huge on that. It's good. You can have a nice life, but you're not buying big houses and doing crazy stuff if you want to preserve the capital. I mean, anyway, my interest is I like money, but I don't like money because I want to count it or use it. I feel like the reason why I'm motivated to make money is because my father was a prairie farmer and a super cheap guy, and he brain fucked me. Oops, can I say that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Into being always afraid of being broke. So I'm constantly in the back of my mind thinking, you're not successful enough, man. You got to be more successful. You got to insulate against problems, and so it's just if you're that kind of person, money is not like I think I said before, I live on a 10% of what I earn.
Wow.
And I have a large net worth, which never will never get used in my lifestyle, like ever.
I mean, that's. I think that's. I love getting to know you on this level, because I think it's important for people to understand the mind of what it takes to be successful, and then not just to necessarily go and blow it all in one place. And that doesn't mean you can't live a great life, but it means you can still be very conservative. And there's always that thing kicking in your ass, whether it was in your case, your father raising you that way, or in someone else's case, maybe they're borrowing too much, so they got to pay it off. It's like sometimes, and like you said in the past, it's you got to keep working. You got to keep working to keep being successful, and it doesn't just end at one point. But if you did retire, Toronto or tropical island?
Well, it would be Toronto, because I need to have like things around me. I would like that guy's going to kill himself.
You think so?
Oh yeah, retiring. How old is he? 30?
I think I could do it though.
No,
if I had that kind, I really believe I could.
You'd do it for a couple of years. You'd be like, you drink too much. You'd probably smoke too much weed. Yeah. And then you'd be like, I got to do something, man. I'm going to kill myself.
Jay,
there was a guy on one of the projects I developed. I worked on. There's a concrete finisher, okay, and he was 87 years old, and he was finishing cement in an industrial building, and so it's a very intense job. There's a lot of finesse to it. But I remember going up to him and I asked him, "Why are you still fucking here? And also, legally, can you even be here? I don't understand how this works."
I don't think so.
Do I have to actually leave? Am I going to get fined? I don't know what's going to happen here. But he looked at me, and it always stuck with me. He's like, "I'm 87 years old. The day I stop working is the day I'm going to die." And he had a fear that as soon as he stopped doing whatever, he would just drop dead. And I think a lot of people are like that. I think you stop, you lose your purpose, you might lose your life.
Plus, your relationships often are with work.
Yep.
And if I watched my dad retire at 60 as a pilot. All his buddies were pilots. He used to travel to London and they go to pubs and stuff when they're off time. And, great stories, great fun stuff, and that ended. When he was 60, it all ended. I think that if you stop working, a lot of the things that make you happy end too. If you have a job you like, if you have a really crappy job and you hate your boss and you hate your life and you're angry at your wife all the time or your kids, then maybe that's a good thing. But that guy is a creative guy, this person that sold his business. I can't imagine someone like that really retiring. I mean, he'll probably do it for 4 or 5 years. And they'll say, how many islands, how boring a tropical island is?
It definitely get cabin fever for sure.
Sand and water and palm trees and I don't know, man.
That still sounds pretty great to me. Well, maybe I can be the project manager if we go developing Turks and Caicos one day. How does that sound? So I'll get my wish and still work. Okay, Brad Lamb, we really appreciate you being here as always. Brad J. Lamb. Go to torontocondos.com. And as Brad said before on this program, condominiums, especially within the city, are probably going to get to that 1,000 a square foot mark. So it's never too late to make a great investment for yourself. And Brad's the guy to do it with. TorontoCondos.com.
That was another rare moment in mainstream media where your broadcasters actually spoke the truth. Okay, we lied. We're not quite mainstream. We're bigger. The Todd Shapiro Show on Sirius XM 168.
Hey, what's up? I'm Roddy. Subscribe to our channel. You're going to love it. For the rest of this episode, you got to check out our podcast online on the website. Go check it out. You won't be disappointed.